I was just a talking. Put your name and organization in chat box, please. We'll start in 3 minutes. Thanks.
You're muted again.
Denise, you've been looking for that mute button all day long. You know it. Oh. Wonder if everyone forgot to show up today. Something else going on today we're not aware of. We'll give it one more minute and we'll get started. All right, we're gonna get started. Looks like it's gonna be a small meeting. Looks like it's gonna be short and sweet. Looks like Home for Good, Bobby and Virginia here. So Pat from Virginia and Bobby from Able Ministries. So woohoo, let's get rolling. Let me pull up the presentation. Hold on. Let me see. There's Miyoshi coming in. So let me see. Where are
Hello.
hello. Just a minute. My presentation's trying to open here. Called myself having everything ready to go and it's not there. There it is. All right, let's get this thing set, sharing, and we're going on. All right, let's move this over. Okay. Here we go. All right, again, welcome. Looks like there's a small crowd here today. I don't know if everyone's just running behind or just having other obligations today. We're going to go over really quickly the point in time count. Charles, your housing inventory forms that you're going to go over, we'll still go over those briefly. Don't know any of the agencies who are here that would need to fill one out, but we'll go ahead and send over the directions to everyone as well. And
Yes,
we'll go over through the other information, but of course we'll send the recording out for those who
yes,
aren't.
ma'am. Gotcha.
Cool, cool. So let me real quick, I'm gonna. Here we go. So the point in time get information. This is our preliminary data from this year. And you'll take a look here. You can see that we did have an increase. We had an increase of about 33 people from last year. We went from 243 last year to 276. 33 people or 14% increase. Luckily or happily, however you want to say it, down still about 9% from where we started this in 2016. And I say where we started, but because we've been doing it the same way with the same methodology since 2016. So we feel confident in comparing apples to apples. Children went up dramatically this year. We had a 350% increase. That's very similar to what we saw back here in 2016 to 2018. And if you remember, that's when the Salvation Army then started their emergency shelter for families. And so we did see those numbers come down again, but we had predicted, everyone had said with COVID, loss of jobs, loss of housing prices going up, inflation, and all of the others, we would see more families experiencing homelessness, and that's what this is indicative. Luckily, none of these children, and meaning children, meaning 17 or younger, were on the street or in an unsheltered situation. All of those were sheltered. We saw a little bit of a decrease in our unsheltered population. Males have gone down where females have pretty much been steady since the beginning of this. In fact, have gone up here. We've had men, we went from 118 in 2016 to 94. This year, females have gone from 98 to 107. Many of those not trying to be not being stereotypical or anything like that, but many of those are families, are female-led families that have an increase there. But we have seen an increase in the unsheltered, which means we have single adult females on the street that we had not had experienced before. So these are the preliminary numbers. We're still just making sure that we've captured everybody, going through the shelter data we have from our system to make sure that those numbers add up to the numbers that were indeed counted and surveyed on those nights, just to be sure. But those are the preliminary numbers from the point in time. Can anybody have any questions before we move on? Okay. Again, if you didn't put your name, Miyoshi, in the chat box, please do so we'll have a record of your attendance. Charles, do you want to go ahead and I will pull up your forms here for you, and if you want to explain them.
All right, I will. This is the housing inventory counts. This is information that agencies will fill out. It should match the pit count that we did on the 23rd, I believe it was, best memories
Yes.
serves.
Mhm, mhm.
So on the 23rd, you had a count of people. And this count here in the HIC should match that. Let me share my screen here real quick.
Do you want in the form? Because I'm sharing the screen, am I not? Of your
Oh,
form?
yes, you are. You certainly are. Okay, so,
I was ahead of the
uh,
game for a change. Woo-hoo.
okay, so you are actually in the form, Pat, so you're gonna have to,
I will scroll
Do
you.
it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
you're gonna have to fill in some info, so.
Okay, cool.
Completed by PJ. Yep. Do other or home for good, that'll work. I know I gotta delete it, so we're good.
Okay, so while we're doing this, Charles, you want to explain what's required and what's not?
Everything with a red asterisk is required. Now, under the project name, of course, you know your project names, or you should. If you don't, just contact me or Pat and we will let you know.
Or we can show you how to pull up all of your projects and your different project names in HMIS for yourself.
Yes, we can do that. Okay, so if you'll scroll back up, Pat,
I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
under your, whoa, you're scrolling too fast for me, John. There we go. All right, we need to come down to the organization.
Mhm.
Now, if your organization is not in this list, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list, you'll have not listed. If you choose that, then you'll have the option to list your organization name, which is right there. Yeah. Okay, scroll on down. Project type is required.
And the same thing I think about the project type. If someone's unsure, we can show them how to find that.
We can, yes, ma'am.
Cool.
All it would take would be an email or a phone call to either, well, to me. We're gonna leave Pat out of that. Anyway, so you got your target population.
What's the difference in multiple sites and scattered site?
Okay, so site-based, single site is something like,
It's Charles talking. I didn't know that.
hello? Okay, so you got your site-based single site, which is basically multiple beds or a shelter.
Gotcha.
You've got site-based clustered multiple sites, which is a shelter that has multiple locations doing multiple beds. And then you got your tenant-based scattered site, which would be like your hotel motel kind of thing.
But if it was a housing program, that would be like maybe a Ralston would be site-based. And different houses across the city would be scattered site. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, and then you got to choose your funding source.
And where would we find that again, Charles?
Excuse me.
Where would we find it if we didn't know what our funding source was?
You would find that in HMIS.
And if we don't know where, again, same thing, right? An email
Correct.
or a ticket?
Email or a
Would
phone call.
Would a
Yes.
ticket be appropriate?
A ticket would be appropriate. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But an email, or if you email me, I can put in the ticket myself. And we'll go from there.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I didn't catch exactly what this was.
Okay. This is the housing inventory count. This goes hand in hand with the point in time count that's done in January. The housing inventory count is when the agency then goes back and confirms, yes, on the night of the point in time count, which this year would have been January 23rd, we did have 24 beds quasi in our shelter per se. Okay. These are shelter beds, rapid rehousing, and permanent supportive housing beds. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Okay.
we had this many beds, we had this many occupied. Of the beds we have, 5 of them were dedicated to homeless. 6 of, and we're going to get into these dedications in a minute. 6 of them are dedicated to children only. 5 of them are dedicated to veterans and those kinds of things. So this is the agency reporting, the community reporting, and all of us making sure we're comparing apples to apples, and that we're have a good inventory of what's available in our community.
Okay, so because I seen New Horizon on there
Mhm.
and I wasn't quite sure.
Right, because
That's
in the
what I-
past, they've had a housing program. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's nothing they gotta fill out this year because they don't have shelter plus care no more.
It will be only for those who had a bed on that night. That's correct.
Okay, I got you. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and with that question being asked, Pat, can you go into client tracker real quick?
Then we'll stop sharing. Yes. Well, hey, a bunch of folks showed up since we started. Hey, guys, if you hadn't put your name or an organization in the chat box, please do.
And once you get that, once you get your client track pulled up, if you'll share your screen again, we won't go into any details, but I will show folks where to go to get their bed count for that night.
I forgot my password. I'm sorry. 1 second.
Well, I know it if you don't.
Well, yeah, you know yours, but anyway, okay, let me go in here. So I go to,
You want to run an active client list?
but if not everybody here has a confidentiality. I don't want to do that,
Well, we're not going all the way through it. I'm
but
just
we
saying,
can't, I don't want to pull up an active client though.
I got you. Okay.
So what we'll do is we can do a slide on how to pull it up and send it out to folks when we send out the form.
Okay, yeah.
Or we can do it in
that.
test. Let's do it in training, but you probably need to pull up your training because I'm sure I'm locked out of mine. Yep.
Well, either that or I can unlock you.
Just go ahead and pull up your training. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a way that we also review your project setup for the year, guys, too. It's all interconnected.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. And the screen that I want is not there. That is just so lovely. I'm working on it, guys. Give me a minute.
I see while she's pulling up the Cheryl, I see that you've shared some utility assistance information. We'll go ahead and send that out to everyone as well.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so what we'll do in order to find out who you or your numbers, you would go to your reports menu, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4th icon down. You're going to want to click on active client list. And you're going to want to do it for the month of the count or for the day of the count, which would be the 23rd through 23rd. You want to do still enrolled. I always change this to entry and exit dates. You can do it either way, but this is the way I do it. You're going to choose your org. You're going to choose your program. And there's not us. We'll do non-congregate. You don't have to change anything else. You hit report. And this will take a second. All right, then you want to click on the export drop down. And you're going to want to do Excel data. This will download a spreadsheet for you. And then you can do your, your calculations from there. Basically, it's the row number, the last row number -1 will give you the total people that you had enrolled that night.
Okay, that,
Yes, ma'am.
we'll go ahead and do some slides as well to send over to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I went through that kind of quick, but yes, ma'am, we can send some slides over.
Right.
As a matter of fact,
But there were some other things in that form, so I'm gonna go back to it real quick. Once we got through all of this. Because again, I said, Charles, that also this will be compared to the project setup because we will review that to make sure that that's it will also set, we compare it to the project setup, so we got everything confirmed. So
Right.
going on to the next slide here, we're at the current inventory, Charles.
yeah, I got you. And for whatever reason, it's not, there it goes. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, so you got control.
Yeah, here you go. When we were in the housing inventory count back on the form with the current inventory.
Right.
Okay, explain what current inventory is?
Current inventory is your beds, your total beds that you have available.
Right, meaning
And
it's what was available on the night of the count, or everything again, reminding is on the night of the count. And I can't stress that enough because we've had in the past folks to say, well, we went ahead and included those who were coming online the next month. That doesn't count.
no,
Or we had overflow earlier in the month, or we had a warming shelter earlier in the month. Those are not counted for that night of that count. It's only on the night of the count what's available.
that is correct.
So, and if you didn't have current inventory, you wouldn't need to fill this out, which makes sense. I don't know, but it's one of the questions they have on the housing inventory count. Okay, so Charles, you want to explain what this means other than reading it again? We don't want to read to people.
Okay, so what we've got here on this screen is households without children. So we've got total beds, which is your total beds available. We've got total units, which is the number of units that house those number of beds. So if you've got 3 beds in one unit and you've got, say, 6 beds, then you've got 2 units.
Okay, so on this first line where it says total beds, AO.
That would be your total number of beds that you have available in the shelter or in the transitional house or whatever it is.
For only an adult.
Correct. In this case, it's only adults.
Right.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to get you to say. because because that's what was getting back to what I explained earlier to Virginia, those dedicated beds. Right.
Right, and here you got, if you see total beds AO, that means adults only. If it says total beds AC, that's adults with children.
Okay, yeah, we haven't gotten that far yet, but so we have beds and then we have units. And we have that for each target population, I guess, or designated population from what I understand.
Correct.
And right, and then we have the occupied on the night of the count, which should match of those who were surveyed, and then the units that were occupied on the night of the count.
Correct.
And then this one again is the same thing, but for one adult and one child.
Or well, 1A, 1C means at least one child.
Right. So a family with minor child or children.
There you go.
And it's the same steps for each one, but we have to ask it for each one. And then we have
Correct.
here, which are children only under the age of 18. And this would be, again, when we asked that question earlier about, do you have any current inventory? If you had something under development, you're working on one, you expect some things to come online in the next month or in the next, before the next report. So in the next year.
Right.
Okay. And then we're talking about adults only. I'm going to go through the same thing here. Just making sure we've covered every type of possible scenario. And these
Yep.
are for those who were chronic.
Yep.
And then you simply hit submit and it's done.
Correct. And I will go ahead and I haven't done it yet, but I will go ahead and create a PowerPoint with step-by-step on how to do that HIC form online, and we'll go from there.
Yep. And we'll have those out within the next week or so, and you'll have about 30 days to do them. It really will only probably take you 20 minutes. But just to make sure that we've got everything ahead of time before we're struggling for due dates. So I'm gonna try and pull up the rest of this and we'll go on through. We got a couple of exciting announcements today.
And while you pull that up,
Mhm.
I believe we covered just about everybody on a one-on-one on how to do that HIC form last year.
We did for everybody who asked for it last year. I think we scheduled everybody for a one-on-one. But again, we'll leave that option open if someone needs assistance. Absolutely. All right. Referrals for coordinated entry. There was 257 events last month. Of that, 130 of those on the first call had to be referred back to coordinated entry because we're unable to contact them. So, and about 50% of those end up being unable to contact and eventually ever. So, but here's the breakdown. I'm not going to read them all to you. Emergency housing vouchers are just about gone. Hate that there won't be any more of those issued, but they have been used well. Prevention continues to be probably the biggest thing request we're getting for assistance through 211 and our online intake. Prevention outweighs everything else, and I don't know what anybody else's thoughts are, but I don't see that changing anytime soon. So that being said, one of the things we talked we were talking with our HUD technical assistance folks in our region and our regional team is about how we discuss issues, how we discuss issues that we're having in our local communities with our regional directors, our regional offices, or how we discuss them internally. And here is a snapshot of what the of one of the forms that the regional office just sent out, a hot topic, hot issue form saying, hey, what are you having problems with? What are you having problems addressing? Have you come up with a solution? Have you not come up with a solution? What went really well? What kind of success stories or have you had? What has worked out really, really well? So we're thinking about putting that out here to those of us in our community to start really doing some brainstorming on maybe common issues, common occurrences, or something just totally out of the blue that we've run into that maybe you've never seen before and you want to see if anyone else has or not. But just for a second, we'd like to get some thought process on the sharing of information and the sharing of maybe some trials and tribulations with each other so that we could have some real community-wide discussion. Anybody have anything to say? Nothing. Go ahead.
Me.
Yeah, go, Miss Virginia.
Hey, this is Virginia. I'm with PATH at New Horizons. And I want to piggyback on something you said before with the prevention.
Mhm.
Yes, it's been a lot of that since that memorandum was lifted, was it last year?
Yep. Uh-huh.
And we seen a quite of an increase of that, but also I wanted to say that what I've come across that I think I should have known, and maybe I probably forgot, or maybe I got the information misconstrued, was the individuals that have vouchers. Now, I knew at one point in time, if they had a voucher, then they're responsible, if they wanted to move, they're responsible for their security deposit. And that they couldn't get any other type of rental assistance because it was double dipping.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did learn new was that because if they have a rental assistance voucher, that they wouldn't qualify for anything state, local, or federal wise. Now that was new to me. I did not know that, and I don't know if anybody else knew that. Until the situation came up with one of the individuals looking for assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So that was new to me, and
right.
I didn't know if anybody else knew that. I may have known it, but forgot it because things change so much. With working with the homeless population and different rules come
mm-hmm.
down.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
That was just new to me to learn that.
Right. And I think and thank you for bringing that up, Virginia, because that is one of the things that perhaps is something that we would put on one of these reports or whatever, or some. I just want to have some way for folks to really say what do they need, what can we contribute to each other, what do we need to bounce off of each other, and those kinds of things. But I think one of the things with that particular situation where someone had a voucher, the word voucher is another way of saying federal assistance. And so because all housing vouchers, unless you are funded exclusively by private money, all housing vouchers originate at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Then they trickle down to the state. Then they trickle down to the local, or they'll come from HUD and come directly to the continuum of care. or go from HUD to the housing authority, then to the community. So that's one of the reasons why if someone is on a Section 8, moving to work voucher, emergency housing voucher, even Section 8 or whatever, they can't then get utility assistance, prevention, or anything else from another program that also originates in the Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's like, yeah, going in the same pot.
That is definitely great to know. Now, when we come with those type of situations, what else can we refer them to?
Well, that's where folks that get their funding from sources other than federal funds come into play. So that's why it's always, always, always best to make sure that person is connected with 211, whether it's through the online intake on the Home for Good website, through searching straight at the United Way 211 website, or calling the number Monday through Friday from 7 to 7, because they will give you the list of resources that do utility deposits. And unfortunately, that's when then it comes a little bit of a legwork, whether it's be the client or the case management or manager or a combination thereof, to say, hey, will you be able to assist someone who has a voucher? And you may go through 2 or 3 before you'll get to someone who could say yes.
Okay. Well, that's great to know. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Virginia. Thoughts on the form? Is it a waste of time? Is anyone going to fill it out? Those kinds of things. Anybody? Come on, Kathy Robinson, you're not quiet. She walked away.
No, I didn't walk away, but I don't really deal with housing anymore. So I'm just here to keep up on everything that's going on.
But it may not be a housing thing.
Well,
It may not be a housing thing. See, because you do employment, that is your baby.
Right.
And if we're seeing more people come into the housing arena that are doing so because of either income hasn't kept up with cost of living, loss of job, underemployment, or whatever, somebody may be having an issue with folks not being able to get jobs. You may be the answer to that. Or you may be looking for people to participate in a training program and you're having a hard time getting people to sign up, and someone else might have that solution. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's all me. And I would definitely use it if it's available. Yes.
Okay. And that's the thing is I'm wanting us to have a bit of, because we have got to take a holistic approach. And I'm going to talk a little bit in just a minute about the new plan that's come out, that came out in December from HUD, from the USICH. It's the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. And it talks about this greater collaboration at the federal level and at the state and at the local level, focusing and focusing your energy and your talents and letting folks do what they do well, so that we can all start be paddling in the same direction. All right. Anything else before I move on to the next thing in our presentation so we can get out of here today? We will, we're going to neaten this up a little bit. This is the raw form that HUD has did for us, sent out, and we submitted some topics. Of course, the lack of affordable housing was our first hot issue, and everybody's screaming the same thing, I'm sure. And so just look for this to come out for local discussion. But if you're having issues spending down your grants, you're having problems getting budget amendments, you're having issues with your documentation, any of those things. And I put one of the problems that I know that we have here that is not different anywhere else and probably in the country, but on the announcements of the funding and then the actual execution of the grants, there's too much time and too many agencies are having to float and leverage things for an extended period of time. So I could beat that. We could talk about this all day. So I'm going to be sending this out as well. Agency updates. Anybody got anything to talk about? Anything new that they're doing? Anything that they're not doing? New hours, new locations, events coming up or whatever. Floor is open for about 2 minutes. And after that,
Hey.
go ahead.
This is Katie from St. Anne Community
Hey,
Outreach.
Katie.
We're doing something a little new. We've partnered with DoorDash, and we're doing some grocery deliveries to homebound families. So we're really particularly targeting the elderly that are homebound, but it can be a family that has no transportation. They just need to call and say that when they call that they need groceries, but they have no way to get to us. Obviously, we're encouraging people to ride share and do whatever they can first. But if you do have homebound folks that need food, we can help.
Thank you, Katie. And that makes me think of this. So if someone had was a case manager for 4 or 5 clients, could the case manager pick up for the clients, or would the client have to come?
No, a case manager can always pick up for the clients. They just have
Okay.
to bring some form of ID for the clients when they come.
Gotcha. And would it have to be the original? Could they bring maybe a paper copy?
We're pretty easy.
Okay. I just
We'll
want to
accept
check.
just about everything.
Someone asked me the other day and I thought I know the answer. So I did say the right thing, but I wanted to hear it from
Yes.
you. Yeah.
We try to not have any barriers. So whatever, we try to work it out. And just the caseworkers just need to call and
Yep.
set up a time to come and get it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And they should identify themselves as a caseworker if they're going to do that. Okay.
Perfect.
I have
Thank you.
news.
Go ahead, Miss Kathy.
Safe House has partnered again with Goodwill. We are doing a HVAC pre-apprenticeship training class that will start February the 20th and run through March the 3rd. Application deadline is Friday the 10th. There will be no charge as usual for this class. And then we will connect them with employers after the class and at graduation. So if you're interested or know anyone interested in applying, they should go to Goodwill and put in an application. We are taking 12. We will extend the class to 15, and we're at 9 right now.
Okay, so they will have to physically go to Goodwill to fill out the application.
Yes, they have to physically go to Goodwill, and then there's they have onboarding, orientation, and some different requirements that they have with Goodwill for the class.
And Kathy, this is Katie again, because you just remind me of something else that we just started doing, because we got a community impact grant to help people with work clothing. So if folks sign up for that class and then they need specialty shoes or even just certain color shirts or pants, there's a portal on our website that they can make those requests.
Perfect. That's wonderful. And Goodwill again is going to give scholarship tool money to applicants that are hired through this program. They did that for our electrical program. They gave gift cards to Home Depot to purchase the tools necessary for their new career. And they'll be doing that as well with anyone hired through the HVAC program with one of our employers. That's like an $800 value.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have anything interesting going on? Any announcements? Anything's coming up?
Hey, could I just, I'm sorry, can I just ask, what's the website for KD Byers? What is it? Or,
Sorry,
Or-
hold on. It's St. Anne Community Outreach. If you Google that, you'll find the website, St. Anne Community Outreach.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and Bobby, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself in just a minute because I think you're the one new person to the group. But let me just quickly, if I can, go to. I did this backwards. I apologize. We got a new email from Department of Health on increasing testing access. We'll send everyone a link to this. I wanted to mention that our semi-annual membership meeting is February 23rd. It's 2 weeks from Thursday. It will be here at the Home for Good office. It still says United Way office because I forgot to change it. We've had to move. There's going to be some construction going on and it's going to be a problem getting in and out of the building. So it will be here at First Pres at the Home for Good office. We'll send out invites and save the date. I'm sorry, and meeting invites and calendar invites. That's the word I was looking for. In just a day or so that everyone could go ahead and save it on their calendar. We're going to obviously go over some point in time count information more in depth. We'll also go over what we're calling our annual report. It's going to go over a little bit of system performance measures, just looking at some of the things in our community as how we're assessed and analyzed from HUD and from those who make funding decisions and those who make regulation decisions. So we'll be looking at some of those things. We'll also be doing looking at project setup updates. I mentioned earlier what we were doing with the HIC has to do with also part of your project setup. So Charles will be leading that. We'll be doing our yearly violence against women training and our equal access training. Chance Corbett from Columbus Consolidated Government. He's the Director of Emergency Management. Will be talking with us about participation in VOAB, which volunteer organizations active in disaster. So we'll have a full calendar, probably an hour and 15 to an hour and a half, and we'll be out. We will be in person only. We will not have a virtual option for the meeting. Really trying to get it back and get as many times as we can so we can have some little bit of discussion, a little bit camaraderie that you really can't have on Zoom. Speaking of which, next month's meeting will be in person, and it will be, of course, here at First Pres at the Home for Good office. Couple of links here. There's the a White House briefing that has come out talking about renters' rights and those kinds of things. It's here. We also have the all-in that I spoke about earlier, the HUD new USICH plan that has come out. It's about 104 pages, and it really is broken down really well into sections. I would suggest you listen to this as a recording that's live, and I'm sorry, it's a link that's live to the recording of the presentation. It's easier to understand the plan once you've listened to that. So I suggest you might want to listen to that and then read the plan. And then there's the link to our point in time count information as well. And with that, Bobby, I'm going to let you really quickly introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself. And I'm just trying to make sure there's nobody else that looks like they're new here. But yeah, if you will, and there's Brandon who's here. So we'll let Brandon introduce themselves as well. So Bobby, go ahead, take it away.
My name's Bobby Vance Ortegon. I'm with Able Ministries. Basically, we provide resource for the community for those who need addiction recovery. But that's like on the front end. We've rescued, we have like 2 beds. We have a transitional house. It's in Seal, Alabama. It's in Russell County. We have 2 transitional houses with 27 beds in it right now. We're about at capacity and then we have an additional 2 beds in the house that are for like temporary rescue. So this would be like if someone's on the street and they're stranded, they have nowhere to go and they're just in a bad situation, we'll immediately like take them in. And then we have those 2 beds, and then we do a little bit of case management, and then just try and get them to either a long-term transitional house, sober living house, or addiction recovery. For the last year and a half, so we're only like 2 years old, 2.5 years old. The last year and a half, we got about 167 men off the streets, and right now we're just excited to like expand our network. We want to be able to serve the men better and have more options as far as what to do with our case management. when we first get them to like process them in. I really, and then because basically all we're doing is sending everyone to recovery, and we have a recovery network that spreads maybe about 8 different programs. And then now what's happening is people are graduating the programs and they're invited back to our transitional house. And then through our network, we help them get jobs. We have a network with several employment places that will take them. There's a list: Fencing Company, Oasis Heating and Air, of course, Able Electric, and a couple other places. But what's happening now is they'll come and they're making money. They're paying a little bit of a program fee to stay in the transitional house. But now we've hit a roadblock to where we need more of a network and guidance from you guys on what can we do to help get them into housing, and what's our next step. So that's why we're here. That's what we're doing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's it. It's a lot of work you guys are doing, and it's gonna be exciting for the folks here to sort of jump in and help you help folks go to the next step. Welcome. Brandon, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay, I'm driving. I'm just making sure. Yeah, my name's Brandon Atchison. I'm an outreach worker for Oxford House. We are a nonprofit sober living organization. We got over 3,500 houses nationwide. We've been around since like 1975. And we have a men's house in Phoenix City, and then a women and children's house in Phoenix City as well. We've only been in this area for around about 6 months. And it has kind of been a struggle to get the word out that we're here. I came when I got the outreach worker position 6 months ago. I moved from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and up there everybody knows about Oxford House. And when I came here, I was kind of expecting the same thing, but that's just not the case. But yeah, so it's really cool with the women and children. They can have their kids there. I myself God has transformed my life by putting Oxford House in my life. And they come and they stay. They can go to work day one. They can stay as long as they want. We got someone that's been there for 8 years. And it's $140 a week. We have 4 single beds. 4 single rooms and 2 doubles. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
All right. And will you get us some information on how folks could contact you?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. That'd be great.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else, any announcements, anything exciting going on? If you haven't already, please put your name and name and organization in the chat box. Thank you, Katie, for sharing the St. Anne's clothing link, and we'll make sure we send it out when we send out the chat recording, remembering that it's going to be in our newsletter again on this Friday, everybody. And if you have not put your name in I'm just making sure we didn't miss anybody here. Make sure that we have everybody on our listserv that gets our newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks. We'll put the recording and the chat as well will be attached to that this week as well. Go to about 45 more seconds and we're going to wrap this thing up. All right. Well, we can start saying our goodbyes, guys. If there's nothing else, we will see you all soon. Remembering next month, we will be in person here at First Pres, 1100 First Avenue. Brandon, if you'll make sure that if you'll send us over your information, we'll send it out to everybody, and Bobby as well, so we can talk about how we can all help you, help us, and help those most vulnerable in our community. Thanks, guys, for joining us. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.